last week we had a story where I kind of lumped in, it was at the time, it was 15 police cars that had been burned up. And this was maybe last Wednesday, something like that. Now that number has been up to 17 police cars. And they haven't come right out and said that they're Antifa, but they're Antifa. Many of you know that reporting from risky environments like CHOP in Seattle or street protests, that often puts my safety on the line. Despite having a concealed weapons permit, carrying a bulky item while filming in such situations, it's always been a challenge. That brings me to today's sponsor and the solution to my problem, the Vanish Daily Carry Holster. What stands out about this Vanish holster is its comfort and discretion. It weighs just 6 ounces. It's made from durable cordura material that's gentle on the skin. Designed to fit 99% of semi-automatic pistols, it's adjustable for right and left-handed users. It features a secure trigger guard and includes utility or magazine pouches. Wear it under a loose t-shirt and it's virtually undetectable. Vanish Holsters offers a 100% money-back guarantee, ensuring a risk-free purchase. Plus, they're offering $50 off the retail price for those who use my special link below. And don't forget the huge giveaway. Vanish Holsters is giving away an $80,000 custom Rocky Ridge Silverado truck to one lucky buyer who purchases by June 3rd. Check out the link in the description to get the most comfortable holster you've ever worn and a chance to win this incredible truck. This is the post that was made on Rose City Counter Info. All right. This is an anarchist counter info platform in so-called Portland, Oregon. Now, it's called so-called Portland, Oregon, because, it's land taken from somebody else. And so therefore, it's not really Portland, Sean. It's, whomever was there before the settlers and Indians in Portland. It's nuts, right? Preemptive May Day attack against Portland Police Bureau. Then we've got a number of stories. We've got Portland police are investigating these claims. And then we've got the Times of Israel, Portland pro-Palestinian group claims it torched 17 cop cars. I mean, this is not new. But them claiming, various groups taking claim. But this one in particular, 17 police cars, and it happened just as kind of everything turned from mostly peaceful into what we've got going on now, which is just some straight up violence. You got straight up violence throughout the United States. It's devolved in so many of these universities. And guess what? It's Antifa. Yesterday, one of my podcasts was on Politico, the media outlet. They were shocked to find out that the folks that were funding all of these pro-Palestinian rallies, they're big donors of Sleepy Joe. They're Democrat donors. And yeah, Politico was like, oh my gosh, how come George Soros is funding all of this far left crazy nut job stuff? What's going on here? This is the craziest thing ever. And then Fox was like, hey, glad you guys could make it to reality. Who did you think was funding all of this ridiculousness, over time? Let's read this one. On May Day, we torched some Portland police cars at their training facility. We cut through a fence, set 10 fires, and are happy it grew to burn 15 cars. That's now been updated to 17. We did it for the Haymarket Martyrs. I don't know a lot of these references because I don't know these references. We did it all for the Black and Indigenous rebels murdered by slavers and settlers. We did it for the brutalized student protesters. All right. Where have the student protesters been brutalized? Some of them have been escorted the F off campuses because they're a bunch of nut jobs. But the brutalized student, not going there. Above all, we did it for the Palestinian martyrs. Okay. All right. Yeah. You know how far Palestine is? Yeah. It's far. It's far away from so-called Portland. And we want to remind the world that the official count is stuck at 35,000 martyrs because the Israelis bombed every hospital to stop accurate reporting of the dead. There's some different ways that you could look at that, that series of actions there. Like maybe Hamas came in and just straight up raped and murdered, 12, 1,300 people. And then what we're seeing now is kind of retaliation for that terrorist attack. You could throw out that one there too. Our attack was preemptive. After seeing Humboldt, Columbia, UCLA, and more, we knew the occupation of Portland State University would be swept violently, and we wanted to attack Portland Police Bureau before. So that's why I lumped in the police car story, knowing damn well that's Antifa. This is Antifa. It's got Antifa. If it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, it's an effing duck. While we suspect the student occupations, particularly the ones occupying buildings and causing damage to the colleges, we hate to see them passive and waiting to be attacked. Catch the police off guard. They do not believe you are free. Show them you are. Raid them before they raid you. For the students, we have the following messages. No symbolic victories. Do not accept speeches and committees and apology emails. The two demands, divest and amnesty for all. Some of these colleges are actually listening to this nonsense and dribble. They're like, oh, what do we do here? Oh, Evergreen State College here in Washington State is one of them. It's just like, none of these universities don't need to deal with these folks at all. Boot them off campus, arrest them if you need to, clear them off campus, finish out your school year, and say thank you very little. And that's what you need to do. We've got a big Occupy thing going on at University of Washington. These higher education systems, they are just head up ass, and then leadership follows the same thing, right? So no negotiations is numero dos in this list. Do not give up ground until you see the money pulled out and the charges dropped and the suspensions canceled. Okay, we're talking about divesting. So literally, is there going to be a meeting between Antifa or whatever bodies are claiming responsibility for, we're going to make sure you divest from, Israel and whatever it is that you want. How are you going to actually confirm that that's been done? Are you going to sit down with those that run the finances of the university and take a quick look at their books? I mean, how are you actually going to confirm that? This whole thing is just absolutely, it's ridiculous. Do not let them demobilize you. Do not let the parties, F the communist pieces of shit, the student government. I thought you guys were the commies. I thought Antifa, no. Oh, okay. All right. The student government or the admin tell you it's over. Don't ever let that happen. It's not. Keep the threat of your return present, especially if the admin refuses to meet demands. Number 4, fight. Defend your camps. If the frat bros come, smash their frat house windows. If the Zionist settlers come, throw fireworks at them. If the cops don't come, just resist arrest. Fight them. They will hate you and beat you if you're peaceful or violent, and it's a time to be violent. So Antifa believes that safety comes through and peace comes through violence. Straight up. There are tons of interviews. You just kind of see how it goes. So it's this backward notion of, we're going to smash a window out and then we'll have peace. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Out of the quads, out of the buildings, into the streets. As the semester ends, this is not over. Fight during the summer. When next year starts, fight then too. So one of the things I've been talking about is, when school's out here, college gets out pretty early, right? When school's out here, like now, so many of these are graduation things going on. USC was going to have a pro-Palestinian valedictorian give her big speech, and they're like, you know what? We're just not going to have you speak. Oh, you know what? We got too much political unrest going on campus. We're not going to have graduation ceremonies. So they've had to go down that route, right? Because, I think there would have been literally fireworks at some of these events. But what happens when school gets out and, there's nobody on campus to support all these rallies and whatnot? But at the end of this one, we're going to read an article from the Babylon Bee called History Repeats Itself as Communists Run Out of Food. It's so ridiculous. And that is based on I did a podcast recently, and the demands, I think it was released yesterday, the demands that these knuckleheads have of school administration. This gal here, if you didn't see my podcast on this, she was being interviewed, And she was saying that they want to have a commitment from Colombia that food was going to be brought to them and water was going to be brought to them. Because if you don't have food or water, then you've basically got an embargo and you've got human rights violations going on. Now, the reporters are like, but the cafeterias are all open and you guys got lots of water bottles, right? And no, we still need a commitment. We need a commitment from the school that they're not going to starve us out. And it's been like 12 hours and these knuckleheads are like, we need a commitment from the school. We're going to be able to get DoorDash up in here because we're getting a little hungry. You see some of those folks that go to these protests. You know what? Little starvation wouldn't hurt them. Let's just say that. Little starvation wouldn't hurt them. So out of the quads, out of the buildings, and into the streets. We call for more actions to avenge Palestinians and the brutalized students at Portland State University. I covered those protests pretty closely. I wasn't physically there, but the last I saw of the Portland State University Antifa that had occupied the one, I think Miller building, I think it was. The last we saw of them, they were running like cowardly children as the police were arresting folks. Oh, we got to get out of here. Don't want to get arrested. They were booking it out of there. Like children caught, with their hands in the candy jar. We got to get out. We got to leave. Don't want to get arrested. So nobody was brutalized. Nobody was brutalized. That's just absolute fiction. Man in Blue from Portland sent me a really funny cartoon. And it was, I don't know who the cartoon character was, but it was, just one of these like little kind of kids. And he was next to a tent inside of a bunch of, lockers in front of a school. So it's at school. They had a tent inside and the caption was, I'm helping, something like that. and he's got his Palestinian thing on and he's got his Palestinian flag and, he's in a college campus in UW at United States and he's helping. Who are you helping? Who are you helping with all this? So we call for more actions to avenge Palestinians and the brutalized students at Portland State University and beyond. Let 10 million cop cars burn. This is from Rachel Corrie's Ghost Brigade. Now, Rachel Corrie was an activist who was killed. I think she got run over by a tank in Israel in 2003, something like that. If I'm getting that story wrong. All right. Rachel Corrie's dad wants everybody to know. He posted that, Rachel Corrie didn't want anything to do with the folks that are laying claim to what we've got going on here. So there's that, right? This to me is Antifa just co-opting a movement just like they did with George Floyd. All right. We've got some racial unrest. We've got Black Lives Matter. Now we can hop onto that because, the Antifa believes in a few things, getting rid of all the borders, getting rid of all basically authority. They believe in tearing down all the racial barriers. And that's why with Black Lives Matter, they were able to hop onto that one. And this one is the whole Palestine thing is because Israel is an oppressor. They're an oppressor. And, we're oppressors. We're all oppressors. It's just everybody in the whole colonizing thing is just, it's absurd, right? I mean, it's like you doing what? And how many miles away? How many thousands of miles away is it? Okay, you guys are off your rockers. Portland police investigating claims of responsibility in arson fire that burned 17 police cars. All right, so this is what's going on. There was the Starbucks was vandalized in downtown Seattle. A lot of tourists are coming this time of year looking at Starbucks in downtown Seattle because that's known as the first Starbucks. And I have not been able to confirm anywhere. And I've reached out to what few friends I have in actual media. And I'm like, is that Antifa? They're like, probably. We don't really know. But the Starbucks was vandalized. And this was also last week. So you've got these, you've got Antifa, which hates big corporate and Starbucks being one of them. But, when there's no DoorDash to bring the Starbucks food in, that's an embargo, people. We need to get worked up and take to the streets and something, right? Do a little peaceful rally. Portland police are investigating a social media post claiming responsibility for, you guys can read that, for an arson fire last week that burned 17 police bureau cars. Police originally said 15 cars were burned in the fire last Thursday, but increased that number by 2 Monday as their investigation continues. The odds of this not being Antifa are pretty much zero. I'm just calling it because this is the way these patterns go. I'm calling Starbucks. Yeah, you might have had some just absolute nut job, because there's a lot of nut jobs in Seattle. Didn't know if you knew that. Come in and just take a crowbar to stuff. But the fact that it was Starbucks, and Starbucks has been vandalized before in Seattle, because, you know, they're colonizers. They're just colonizers. And I think do they sell bagels? Because we don't do bagels. Also, no bananas. Also, coffee. Coffee is sourced from Antifa's no coffee. We can't have any coffee. I did talk in a podcast about the dietary demands of whatever group it is who's, you know, loosely, they're anarchists, they're pro-Palestinian, they're Antifa. It's all kind of one and the same, right? They don't want to take, they don't have leadership positions. Technically, you know damn well somebody's leading this nonsense, right? Because they're very well organized and they're very well funded. So, also Monday, a group called itself 𝗪𝗧𝗘𝗧𝗏's Ghost Brigade, that's who we just read from, said that people had cut through a fence at the Bureau's training facility and set 10 cars on fire at Portland State University's Miller Library. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators had occupied the library for 3 days, and the university administration asked city police to intervene. Police on Friday arrested 12 stinky people, including 4 stinky residents after the initial sweep. I'm sure they were stinky because, you know, they're doing occupying and you don't take showers. I mean, long live the revolution, right? So police said in an email that they are aware of the online post claiming responsibility, and that is part of the investigation. The Bureau wouldn't confirm whether they've heard of a group called itself 𝗪𝗧𝗘𝗧𝗏's Ghost Brigade or whether its claims have any merit. You know, when you've got a hammer job on Portland Police Bureau, guaranteed Antifa is behind it. Who else is there, right? Something as coordinated an effort as this, who else is there? Yeah, no, this is just absolute, it's nuts. It's nuts. And then to have people say, but Antifa is, you know, they're not really reality. Antifa is a myth. No, they're burning up cop cars. Give me a break. This is and they should be prosecuted as domestic terrorists. Straight up. During the whole George Floyd thing, I think the far left and leftists were able to go, you know what? The Black Lives Matter is just being co-opted. And that did happen a little bit. You know, you had a handful of rallies up front that weren't devolving into this wild violence. But when it was all said and done, it was all violent. And that's why we make so much fun of the peaceful protests. We put them in air quotes and go, mostly peaceful protests, because they weren't. Because this activity, those who are involved are not peaceful. Violence is a way to keep order, right? Well, Antifa deal. The investigation into this online incident is open and active, police spokesperson Mike Brenner said in an email. Benner, detectives do not want to jeopardize the integrity of the investigation. And all I'm doing is looking at information and going, yep, that happened. I mean, I'm just calling it. This is my opinion. Antifa lit these cop cars on fire. And now they're taking responsibility. It's interesting that this is from the Rose City Counter Info. That's what they're calling themselves. Rose City Antifa, probably the strongest Antifa group out there. I mean, from my understanding, I don't personally know. I'm not down there. You know, I didn't get invited to any of the group activities. I didn't get I didn't get invited to the bonfires where they sing Kumbaya after a big, you know, night of burning up police cars. I didn't get that invite, but, you know. So raid them before they raid you, the group's post said on the website, Rose City Counter Info. The website allows people to publish posts anonymously. You know what? So much stuff in this world is done anonymously, but then you can never verify if it's true or not. You can never verify its authenticity. I just made up a new word. It does not exist. Sorry. The website was used earlier this year by people who claimed they set a car on fire outside Portland City Commissioner 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧's house. There were 3 cars out there. They hit one of them, and they were sad that they didn't burn up all 3. So, we're burning up cop cars. We're burning up 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧's cars on his street. Domestic terrorism, people. Domestic terrorism. Can somebody look up? I mean, how many years do you do for a good solid burning up of a cop car? It's got to, I mean, is that a felony? It's got to be a felony, right? That's not a misdemeanor, is it? I don't think so. Rachel Corrie was an American activist from Olympia, Washington. This is the Rachel Corrie that they're talking about, that they're claiming that they are, who died in 2003 while protesting the Israel army's destruction of the Palestinian houses in Gaza. She was crushed by an Israeli bulldozer and died. Good Lord. Was she lying down in front of it? I mean, this whole thing, just like, okay, what are you doing here? So now you got this activist who's now a martyr. She got run over by a tank. I mean, that just plays into this whole thing, right? Whole crazy thing. Okay. So here's from the Times of Israel. Nothing crazy new here. But again, they're coming right out and saying, hey, we take responsibility for this. So, and yesterday I talked about a lot of these storylines are all kind of meshing together. There was a conviction last Friday in a case down in Los Angeles that identified Antifa, and the charges were conspiracy to riot. And so when you have a known organization that commits, this kind of criminal activity, let's call them a domestic terrorist. But going back to George Floyd times, Fentanyl Floyd, there were such darlings of the far left. They were the far left. Antifa is the far left, right? But they want to claim that, don't have any leadership, don't have any hierarchy. We don't really fall within this. Yeah, well, somebody set the order to, basically firebomb these police cars and set them on flame, and the cars on 𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧, on his street. Somebody's doing that. Now we need to get somebody with some balls and say, hey, this is a domestic terrorist organization. We can't have this. Because literally, these folks are going around doing crazy acts like this. If they want to take responsibility, for arson of police cars, then let's let them. But then let's accordingly identify them as they are. And you know who it was that I think said, hey, Black Lives Matter is a domestic terrorist group? I think it was Trump, right? Remember? And everybody was like, oh man, that guy is so racist. That guy just hates everybody, doesn't he? They're not domestic terrorists. And then you saw the evolution of what happened in Portland. Yep, pretty much just straight up domestic terrorism, right? Let's see if we can burn up a federal building. Let's, all that stuff that they were known to do. All right. So this article, law enforcement in Portland, Oregon is investigating. Yep. In a post, they quoted, and this was the post that I saw and somebody forwarded to me. Same man with the cartoon. Cartoon was so funny. It's just this little kid going, I'm helping. No, you're not. You're not helping at all. And that's what these activists are doing. Nothing. There was a picture of some kids saying, we appreciate you in Colombia, that were in Gaza and Gaza Strip. And they were holding up signs. We appreciate you in Colombia. Yeah, but the real soldiers are the ones that are actively fighting. It's not children, right? So this notion that all these kids around the country are actually helping, it's like, what are you talking about? You're doing nothing. You're just getting in the way of a college year ending, right? Hamas branch in Portland, the brigade of Martyr Raul Corey accepts responsibility for destroying 15 vehicles belonging to the occupation. So that's the big tweet that's going out. Police say in an email they're aware of the online posting. Most all of this is the exact same as the other 2 articles. 4 students were among the 12 arrested Friday. It was very interesting that I forget how many it was of the a big percentage of the people that were arrested in Portland, I want to say it was like 30 people were arrested when they cleared out Portland State University, and maybe six of them were actually students. Over half invariably are not students that are being, arrested during these takedowns. They're not students. They're outside agitators, and they should have felony charges put on them if they burn up police cars. This is what Antifa does. And I think you've got plenty more to come as we work our way into summer. Because you know how after a while, when things start to literally physically and during the summer heat up, people are like, oh, I just want to get out there and do something. I'm just as guilty. We've got 80-degree weather coming to Seattle here this Friday and Saturday. It is shirts off for everybody time. I don't care what it is. Just, yep, here we go. Let's all expose our just, utter white skin. I got a little tan on my, face going because I'm out all the time, but the rest of me, it's not pretty. We're going to keep that under a t-shirt. But 80-degree weather. I know so many of you in other parts of the country are like, that sounds kind of cool for this time of the year. No, that's record heat. That's 80 degrees. We're golden in Seattle if that happens in May, and we're in early May. All right, let's hit up my whole point to that was as summer progresses, as it gets hotter, as we have those long Pacific Northwest evenings, Antifa is going to be out there. And I hope somebody designates them. I hope the Southern Law, whatever it is, that ridiculous organization, I hope that they call these guys domestic terrorists. You know what I mean? Because they do it for every other organization on the right. On the far left, let's call it what it is, domestic terrorists. And let's get... And when we find these people and we arrest these people, let's let them have it. All right. Okay. So let's go to this one. I made special fun of this dude here. Because look, he's got his little outfit on. She's got her little outfit on. He's got his belly button. He's got his man beard that's nicely trimmed, and he's got his belly button out there. How do you think that'd go in Gaza? Hey, come here. What's up with the belly button? All right. Yep. Toss him off the rip top. Toss him off. Got another one. Toss him off the rip top. Instead, he's here standing behind, this gal did not do the movement any favors. She just put herself into dead end after dead end after dead end in this conversation. So the Babylon Bee kind of just took him to school. History has again repeated itself as communism. And let's be clear, the Babylon Bee is satire. A lot of people, maybe they've never read from the Babylon Bee, but it's just hilarious stuff. It's satire, right? This is not real. History has again repeated itself as communism once again devolved into mass starvation. This was after literally hours. Make sure they don't do a blockade on us. School never said anything about not bringing food, not getting food, water, none of that. These guys are just, we're so hungry. The commies at Columbia University lasted less than 12 hours before running out of food and pleading for humanitarian aid, setting a new record for the collapse of communist food supply. It's so true. It's 100% true. Okay, time out on the Intifada revolution. We're out of pizza rolls. All right, that whole violent thing against the Jews, got to put a hold on that. We're out of pizza rolls. What are we going to do? No pizza rolls. After the clear out of Portland State Library, I showed all kinds of pictures and footage of the damage and destruction. They had a lot of food. They had snacks. They had snacks for days. Very specific snacks though. No coffee, no bananas, it's just nutty. Okay. And so I'm going to see if the people we just assaulted will send us some DoorDash. Why are we always running out of food? It's so funny and so true. Communist protesters had barricaded themselves in buildings over the weekend and soon realized that they had no means of production to feed themselves. Yeah. It's kind of like the protesters at 𝗥𝗘𝗔𝗦𝗢𝗔𝗕𝗏. They built that garden on a sports field. And it's actually in kind of a bowl area. And the city of Seattle just recently cleared that. I was over there and they cleared that. And they've still got it fenced off because the Antifa wants to, they want to just go garden again. But they threw down some garden stuff and claimed that, this is going to sustain hundreds of people. Well, I mean, maybe dozens. Okay. We got enough carrots for 2 people here. And that's just for, an appetizer. We can't feed any amount of people here. Activists tried to enact communal ownership of the snacks that they did have, but supplies ran out quickly. Mom, why don't we take over the food court? Lamented protester Drake Jones. I'm so hungry. Oh no, he said, man, why don't we take over the food court? I'm so hungry. I haven't had Chipotle in almost 8 hours now. Still, I bet the people of Gaza are inspired by your sacrifice. These kids are just playing. They're literally just playing. They've got outfits. They've got costumes. They've got flags. Yeah. As of publishing time, the protesters told onlookers that true communism hadn't been tried and they were going to start a new, even better collective, one building over. That's always the answer. Okay. So your whole efforts at this socialism and communism never work. But the ideology is behind it. Well, that wasn't a real example of what we're talking about. True communism would have done this. True socialism would have done this. And you're like, no, you pretty much tried that and it didn't work out. And your whole feeding the 5,000 with your little garden at CHOP. Yeah, that went absolutely nowhere. So you got a couple of carrots out of it. They had all kinds of stuff. One of the favorite things I thought about that was that it was only for people from the BIPOC community. So Black interracial people of color. They're the only ones that could have the proceeds from the garden. It was for the BIPOC community only. Isn't that just straight up racism? Yeah. So you're only going to let people eat? If white people come and they want a little bit from the garden, no go because of their race? Huh. Yeah. Interesting. Well, yeah, but got to get back to bombing police cars. Bombing police cars or lighting them on fire. Either which way, they get destroyed, right? They get destroyed. So here's the big question. What will the official results come in as? Because if it's Antifa, if they're going to identify it as these knuckleheads over here, the Rose City Counter-Info, who are claiming that the Rachel's Corey Ghost Brigade did it. Yeah. Is anybody going to, basically state, okay, that's fine. They're a domestic terrorist organization. Is anybody going to go down that route? Are there going to be any consequences? Probably not. This is Portland again, right? This is Portland. So from the top down, you've got directives from the mayor. You've got directives from the city council. You got the citizens there. They voted all this stuff in. So now you're even further shy on cop cars. I remember, I think it was about 2 years ago, not enough police cars in Portland to go around. They're continually fixing old cars. So now you got 15 cars from the training center that are all burned up. I mean, they're not going to be using those anymore, right? I mean, I'm sure they're insured, but still, that whole notion of, all right, yep, no more cop cars for you. That hurts. That hurts law enforcement. And that's why Antifa did this. They know damn well that this hurts. So, yeah. So there's got to be that, okay, that happened. Now, here are the consequences. We bust you guys again doing something like this. You're getting the book thrown at you. But again, this is Portland, Oregon. So we're not doing any of that. Instead, there will be a party. People will go in the streets and they'll go, oh, yes, we're getting somewhere. We're really, really getting to the bottom of things. You burned up a police car. And when something bad happens to you, Rachel Corey's Ghost Brigade, who are you going to call? You're going to call Ghostbusters for your Ghost Brigade? No, you're going to call 911 and expect cops to come take care of you, even though you're burning up their cars. So people in Portland, make that vote count, right? I mean, if you want to change any of this, which it doesn't appear that you really do, You got to get tough with these jokers because they're more than jokers. They are literally domestic terrorists and they should be treated accordingly. Lock them up, throw away the key, let them stew, let them just work it out. Send them to Gaza. I don't care. Just do something. Do something that identifies these folks. All right, this is the bad element. We're no longer pretending that this is, they're imaginary. They're really hard to figure out who they are because, they don't have the leadership like in a regular group. Well, they just told you who is responsible. Now go figure out who they are. Arrest them, throw them in jail. All right. That's all I got on this one. Thanks so much for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe, hit that like button, all that good stuff. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.